Painting of the floor is finished for now. I'm just going to assemble the springs and the axles. I'll whack the springs back in. Once I get the springs in, then I'll lift the axles, pin them to the springs, put that in. I'll just put a bit of bearing grease just on the shaft with the eye bolt. Just, you know, there's a bit of paint and stuff in the eye. Means a little bit bindy, so I'll whack that bit of bearing grease, high temperature. Doesn't need to be, but I'll whack that in there. That'll make that easier to assemble. Tap. I use nylock nuts, so you can see that nylon in there. That locks, for those of you who don't know, that locks the nut on, stops it coming off. A lot of people don't realise that nylock nuts are a one shot. You're not supposed to reuse them, but on a trailer, I don't think it'll matter all that much. I won't do these up yet. I'll wait until I get all the others on. That's all going right. It's got good clearance. Means the spring hangers are level. I'll whack the back axle on, and then I'll get them on, get them other springs on as well. So I'll put this on. Bloody heavy, these axles. It's easier to put the axles on now before I put the springs on. Otherwise you've got to try and thread the axle under the springs. This one I got new bushes to go in these eyes. I'll just have to give that a little bit of a tap to get it in. So we'll do that. So these are the new shackle bolts or spring bolts through the eye. Come in a pair. I paid $12 for them. As you see from the earlier video, the other ones were welded on. These are just three, what are they, 3.5 inch PSW. They're a pair, so, but I had to cut the other ones off, but I wouldn't have used them anyway. They were shitty old things, and you know, the springs are these bolts are pretty important, because if they break then you lose the spring. So I'll grease them up and whack them in. So what happens with a single axle, you have a spring hanger there, and then you have a slipper. These are slippers rather than eye to eye. And with a tandem axle, a dual axle, you have your spring hanger in the front. You have an extended spring hanger in the back, so it's twice the height, and then the slipper goes in underneath, and then you have that sort of effect. So when you put this spring in, the end goes into the slipper, and then this part picks up the eye, and then that's how it rocks. On a eye to eye, they have a T-piece in there and they rock off the T-piece. So that's basically a common setup, pretty simple. I'll show you later. I've got some prices on these spring hangers. They're only about 16 bucks a pair or something. So I'll finish putting the springs on, and then I'll lift the axles and whack the U-bolts on, and once I get them on, then I can put the brakes on. So I was going to get new brakes, but I didn't need them. I just got able to clean up the slides on them. I've got to put new shoes in, I've got them. Then they run a cable back. So I'll show you that as I assemble it, but I'll log off for a minute while I put these other springs on, and I'll give you a yell when I set up the U-bolt the springs to the axle. The reason they call these slipper springs is because in the rear hanger they slip in there and they just slide along. They just slip as you go, as they tension and as they're working, whereas I-springs work a lot differently because they're fixed both ends. With a slipper it just cruises on one end. Look, maybe you know all this, or maybe you're watching because you don't know, and I'm just trying to explain it to you. So I'll rattle these up, and because it's quicker and I'm lazy, so I'll use the rattle gun and do these nuts up. Probably helps if you have the chuck running the right way. Anyway, might help even more if you get the right size socket. So, I don't know what happened there. Anyway, I'll get the right one. Got the right socket this time. It's amazing what you can do when you set your mind to it. Anyway, you got the spanner right anyway. Don't want to over tighten them. Want the spring to be able to move within the hanger. So just nip them up. Well, what can I say? They give me a bodgy bloody nut, so I had the right size before. Got two different size nuts. It's actually interesting that nuts come in two different sizes. I always thought they were all the same size. I know mine are anyway. Anyway, that's that. Job done. I won't bore you with the other side. Know what happened there. They're the same size bolts. Bloody different size nylocks, but anyway, done now. So they're the new U-bolts I put on. They I don't know how much they were. They were 16 bucks. They were 16 bucks a pair. I'm going to have a look around and see if I've got some flat washers to go on. These go on the fish plate, so I'd like to put some washers under there, be on top of the fish plate, because the slots are usually pretty big in them fish plates. So I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, I'll lift that axle and see if I can't get this fish plate on there. The U-bolt under there. Lift that up there a bit. Yep. Slip nylocks again on these. I didn't have any washers, but I think I'll get away without it, so that's one up. I'll slip the other one on the other side. Another fish plate. there. So we'll lift this one, see how we go. Put it on there. Well, that was easier than I thought. I'll got a couple more there. I won't bore you with that. There's a little tab goes on the bottom of the, sits on the axle, and it picks up the centre bolt. There's a centre bolt there, so that levels that up. So when that goes on, normally that sits in there like that. That's normally tacked into position. It wasn't on these when I pulled it apart, so I'm not going to bother with it. I'll just line it up by hand when I pull the U-bolts up. Just make sure it's in the, there's the top half of the centre bolt there, so that just levels that up. So I'll rattle them up, and I'll see if I can do that one-handed. Pull them up just gently, and then do the line that up at the same time. Then I just line that little bolt up, pull them back ones up. I'll have to turn it off for a minute because I need two hands. Got new brake shoes. I'll kick the camera. So I'll just put them together. They're a pretty simple process. There's some little slides there. I don't know if you can see it. I'll come around here. Those little slides go in there, and then the brake caliper slides on them. I put a little bit of bearing grease on them. I probably shouldn't because it'll probably gum them up, but we'll see how we go. I'll do that later. This little block, there's a little block there. That little block goes inside. I've got the fucking thing. So, pain in the ass. Righto, try again. That little block goes in there, and that pushes up against the brake shoe. So then the brake shoe, well, the brake pad, not the shoe, there's a brake pad. Now I'm dropping more shit here everywhere. So that goes in, that just drops in there like that way. That pushes to the back. There's another one, drops into the front. Another one there, that just drops in, there's a little lug there. That drops in there. Something or other. And then that bastard fell out. So, try again. So we push that, it's got them little lugs on the side, they're little keepers. So they go in, then it slides back like that, so that's in. So that's assembled. Then it goes on the hub, or it goes on the drum, or the brake disc. So, not have much luck today. Stuff going everywhere. If I don't prop that up, it will fall down. Then these are the little spacers, or the little runners. So I just put a little bit of grease on them. I'm sort of a little bit reluctant to, because they might get clammy in there with brake dust and shit on it, but we'll see how we go. And they just they slot into, they go into these holes here. But I think what I'll do, I think I'll put the caliper on the brake over the disc first, and then put them on, because they'll just keep falling out. So now the fucking pads are falling out again. So I'll spin that camera around and I'll put that caliper on, see how that goes. And need to relocate. So the brake caliper bolts onto that little plate there, and then this axle's facing the wrong way. These need to roll over, but I'll just put them on now before I mount the springs. So that's shit me now, so I've got to back the adjuster off. So that adjuster pushes on that little block that I put in, and because that's adjusted right in, because the brakes were rooted on it, that couldn't go back far enough. So now that's slipped on easy peasy. So that's in its position. Now I'll just get that little bush, put that in. I'll just put a bit of grease on the bolt as well, just because it's a bit old. Help do the thread. So yeah, put that. There we go there. Yeah, put that little tube over that bolt and slip that into there. That's started. Do the other one. With you in a sec. Just greasing it up. And slip that sucker in there. So that's going, that's started. Wipe the grease off my hands. So I don't know if this is interesting to you or not, but anyway, maybe I just assume, because I sort of know maybe what I'm doing, that everybody else does as well, and it's not interesting, but this is, I've never dealt with these mechanical brakes before, but they're very simple, so maybe I'm just telling you all how to suck eggs, I don't know. But I learn a bit off YouTube, things I haven't seen or done before, or just things that I see people do, and that's why I started up a YouTube channel. What's maybe everyday life to me, may be of interest to some people, I don't know. But if they watch it and like, maybe it's interesting, I'll keep doing it. If they think I'm a dickhead and tell me so, then I'll probably stop doing it, just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not sharing it with anybody. So I'm just tightening that caliper up now. So, put a Get that nice and tight, don't want that brake falling off. And that's it. So that wheel spins, that disc spins, when you pull the brake on, that lever comes up, and yeah, that's it, and then that's yeah, that disc spins in there, and then that caliper slides back out, and there he goes. So, as I said, as that disc spins and you pull on that cable, comes up, the cable that pushes on that block, and that's locked that wheel up now. Now it's back spinning again. So I'll just nip that adjuster up, and then I can put it back in its position that it goes in. We just roll that way, and then whack the U-bolts in, get this other axle fitted up, run the cable back to the hitch, and I'll show you that when I'm doing it. I think I might have stuffed up when I put these calipers on. When I put the U-bolts on, the lever pulls up against the spring. This lever here pulls up against the spring and pulls the brakes on. You've got no movement in it. So I think I'll take your caliper off, see how it goes on the other side. I think it might be a bit of a different angle. It might be left and right. I'm not sure, but it's not going to work like this. So I'll take it off and swap them around and see if it makes a difference. The brakes are on, cable's on. I've just put the cable on. I'll run this little guide here, little wheel in it, just to take the slack and run it along the chassis. Comes back there. I've got a new adjuster on there. I'll wait until it gets back on its wheels, and then I'll be able to have a play with that. The U-bolts are doing me head in. I'm gonna put washers under them. I don't need to, but there's not much grip in them, and you know, I'll be driving down the road thinking about it and come home and bloody do it, so I may as well do it while I've got it upside down. I'm running the wiring at the moment, so I'll put a separate thing on that. I went and got some washers to put on those U-bolts. I was not happy with them. Washers are a bit bigger than what I would have liked, but better than no washers. I'll do the rest of them. I said before, nylock nuts are a one-shot thing, and I've had these on and off a few times now, so a bit of a contradiction, but it'll be good enough. So I'll go and replace the rest of them now, and then can just about tip it back over and put the wheels back on. It's done. It's ready to go back. Tip it back over. I'll do that in a minute, and I just painted the shackles, all that. I run all that cable. See that cable through there now. Running along there, pinned all the way. makes life easy when I go to wire it. Now I don't have to muck around underneath it. Anyway, I'll set a tripod up and see if I can't turn this thing over on my own. It'll either be a good job or it'll be good evidence for the coroner if the fucking thing drops on my head. Anyway, let's see how we go. So far so good. Just got to slide it back over now. So it's past the point of balance, it's on the downside. I just got to try and get it back over a bit so it's directly underneath the block and tackle. So I just walk it back over. Wow. I might put a couple of wheels back on it on the other side while it's off the ground, and then I'll be able to lift this other side up, get the other wheels on, and then we're rolling, baby. We're rolling. I just touch up them U-bolts before I put the wheels back on. Well, that was different. So that managed to swing around without hitting me and without hitting anything else. Unbelievable. It's self-centered. So set it back up again. Get the wheels on. I'm glad I wasn't in behind it, put the wheels on when it decided to level itself up. Might have been a different story. Yeah, it's walking all around on its own now. Yeah. Again, I better get over the other side and touch those U-bolts up. If it stops jumping all around. Well, I might have done some sketchy shit over the years, and that's probably not a bad example. You know, you calculate your risk, as Clint Eastwood says. You know, a man's got to know his limitations. That was within my limits, so I did it. Just make sure you stay out of the way. You know, maybe sometimes you need to take a few chances in life, but one thing I never do, I don't climb extension ladders, and I don't get onto roofs. You heard me say before, I'm too old for this shit, but I'm certainly too old to be falling off roofs and stuff like that. Other things that I hate, 9-inch angle grinder, hate them. Only use it occasionally when I have to, like on this job. But now I've got the new plasma cutter, I'll probably use it even less than what I do. I don't mind the little 5-inch ones, they're all right. But anyway, the trailer's back on its wheels, so I'll see you all in the next one.
Watch out for part 4 of the trailer rebuild. In this part I will patch the rusty floor, fabricate the taillight brackets, rewire the trailer, install a spare wheel carrier and toolbox, and give it a final paint.